I'd like to welcome you here today at the Knockbridge Cemetery to pay the respects to the men and women who were active members of the 4th Division of the IRA and Common Amon. While this plaque is dedicated to memory of the men and women Republican volunteers who are buried in this graveyard, we honour and remember all those who give their lives in the cause of Irish freedom. Speaking of volunteers, they were recruited in the run-up to Easter Rising and beyond. Liam Mello said of them, many of them are poor, almost all are. Most of them are unheard of, and yet their work for Ireland deserves to be known. They give all in silence, seeking no reward and getting none. A prophecy that we all can identify with, and we can carry the debt of gratitude each time we assemble to honour the deeds and action of past generations, to realise the Republic as described in the Easter Proclamation. More poignant for us here today is the memory of our own family members, friends and comrades who sacrificed much and lost their lives in the most recent phase of the struggle. We also remember our comrades who succumbed to ill health. May they rest in eternal peace. I would like to call on Jonah Hearn, the Leary, on behalf of Loud Sinn Féin. And we'll have a minute's silence after. I would now like to call on Niamh Hearn to give the oration.
Fáilte roimh carja go Knockbridge, where we've been coming here on Easter Saturday as a long-held tradition to mark the participation of rural areas and villages such as Knockbridge in the 1916 Easter Rising 107 years ago. Our towns and villages, counties and cities are what make up the fabric of this island, and it's the people in them who travel from every corner of it to the GPO on bicycles are what illustrate the resolve of the Irish rebels whose resistance to British rule brought Dublin City to a standstill. Fast forward to today, instead of the GPO being known solely as the rebel headquarters of 1916, it is now also known as the place where people come to avail of the food banks outside of it. Instead of losing our friends to internment and murder, we're losing them to emigration and suicide. Instead of people losing their homes to raid and terror, they're losing them to a housing and homelessness crisis. James Connolly famously said, "If you remove the English army tomorrow and hoist the green flag over Dublin Castle, unless you set about the organisation of a socialist republic, your efforts will be in vain. England will still rule you." From the support of our members to the work of our activists, to our representatives standing up for their communities and local councils, to our TDs passionate to lead a government of change, to our MLAs behind a First Minister for all, to the work of our MEP to secure the protocol in Brexit negotiations, to our proud abstentionist MPs making the case for Irish unity, Sinn Féin's commitment to creating an Ireland faithful to the 1916 proclamation is unwavering. 25 years ago yesterday, the 7th of April, the signing of the Good Friday Agreement marked an end to a bitter, painful period of the Troubles, and this general area, along with other border regions, were at the epicentre of the revolutionary defiance to a British war on Irish soil. The poignance of Easter and the Good Friday Agreement coinciding lies in the fact that the 1916 rebels and Óglaigh na hÉireann that preceded the Good Friday Agreement were ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances who were forced to endure the violent wrath of a British oppressor and further confronted in order to bring about the national liberation of their country and to safeguard the freedom of the succeeding generations who would inhabit it. These were freedom fighters in both time spells who were part of the same struggle that we as Republicans are unapologetically proud of. 2022 marked 100 years since the Civil War, where soon after the Blue Shirt Cumann na Gael came into power and hoarded the country's wealth, which is now in the hands of private developers and billionaire landlords. Once British soldiers vacated the 26 counties, those who took power painted the postboxes green and proceeded with a class-based system and social regression and narrow economic outlook where quality of life is measured by GDP and not by the living standards of the most vulnerable people in our society. 100 years later, civil war parties still govern this state, but not for long. The 1916 proclamation, bearing the ideals of the heroes we commemorate today, serves as a blueprint for the new Ireland that we strive to build. This document was crafted by 7 people and it is the responsibility of Sinn Féin members in our thousands to convince the Irish people in their millions of its potential. That's our challenge. Gurmila Mai Agah.